Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, no species has altered the world as extremely, as quickly as humans. That's taking a toll on our planet, from the air to the oceans. Here to share his new book, Becoming Earth, we welcome Portland author Ferris Jabr. Good to have you with us, Ferris.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
You're not like a local author. You write for New York Times Magazine. So you've been doing a lot of writing and a lot about the earth and sciences and that kind of thing. Let's first start, though, why you wanted to write this book. Like, what motivated you?
This book explores, how life has dramatically transformed the planet, and it re-examines this kind of provocative idea that Earth itself is alive, which has been, quite controversial for a long time. It's a really ancient idea, going back into mythologies and religions around the world, but within Western
like Mother
science,
Earth is kind of right.
Exactly. But within Western science, that kind of thinking has been, very provocative, and so it's been continually debated. And what I realized recently is that there's kind of a shift happening within the world of science, where the idea of a living planet is starting to gain more acceptance in the scientific world. And I wanted to kind of bring that new understanding, to the general public through this book.
What were some of the things you found out that stand out to you and maybe surprised you?
Yeah, the first thing that I learned that really obsessed me and fascinated me was that, we all know that rainforests are extremely rainy.
Right.
But the Amazon rainforest doesn't just receive the rain, due to geographical conditions. It actually generates about half of the rain that falls on its canopy each year.
It generates the rain?
Yeah, so the Amazon rainforest is pulling huge volumes of water from the soil, releasing that water to the atmosphere. And at the same time, it's throwing up all these tiny biological particles like pollen grains, microbes, fungal spores. And it's the combination of the water vapor and all these tiny particles that the vapor can condense onto that creates clouds. So the Amazon's like a big cloud factory. It's accelerating the formation of clouds above its canopy. And that's where about half of the rain comes from, is from what the Amazon is doing itself.
But we're damaging the Amazon.
Yeah, we've wreaked havoc on a lot of the world's major ecosystems, including the Amazon, and that's having, huge repercussions for the health of the planet, essentially, because we depend on these ecosystems. We're embedded in them.
You talked too about the role that elephants play in transforming the landscape that they inhabit. Tell me about that.
There's this kind of newish idea in ecology called geochemistry, and the idea is that animals are really important for transforming the planet's crust, for moving nutrients through the planet's many layers. If it weren't for animals as these large dynamic creatures, most of the nutrients on the planet would just get stuck in pockets here and there, and it'd be sequestered for a long time, and we wouldn't have life as spread out as it is. But
how do they do that?
Well, if you think about an animal like an elephant, they're so huge. Just by walking through the environment, they are, trampling certain kinds of vegetation. They're eating plants and spreading seeds. Their footprints leave holes that are so big that they become ponds. Like they fill up with up to 50 gallons of water in a single elephant footprint, and that becomes a pond for frogs and for aquatic insects and all kinds of things.
What do you see as the damage, as the most damage that we're doing, most incredible damage that you see? How do we not stop this?
Yeah, well, so our species, as you were saying, has changed more of the planet in less time than any other species before us. And the two major ways we do that is by burning fossil fuels and releasing greenhouse gas emissions to the atmosphere, which is, the root cause of global warming, but also through industrial agriculture. We now use about half of the habitable land on the planet for some sort of farming, to raise crops or to raise livestock, whereas just a few thousand years ago, it was less than 1%. So that's a huge change in a very short time.
Is that because of the population increase? Is that
Yeah, it's a lot to do with population increase, but it's also just the way that we spread out across the globe, and we use these vast tracts of land to support our way of life.
Okay. Let's talk about the oceans and some incredible stories that you talk about whales and like what they've ingested being out in the oceans.
Yeah, whales are fascinating for quite a few reasons. So first of all, as giant creatures, they are also moving carbon and nutrients through the ocean ecosystem. They do, scientists call them poo-namis. So when whales, when they poop at the surface of the ocean, they're releasing a huge amount of carbon and nutrients that then fertilizes the plankton, the photosynthetic plankton at the ocean surface. And the plankton are the foundation of the entire marine food web. So the whales, some of the largest creatures that have ever existed in the entire history of the planet, are linked to the tiniest of all ocean creatures as well.
But we're killing them.
We, certain whales, You know, certain whale species have made a huge comeback recently because, you know, whaling has dropped so much compared to historically. But through plastic pollution, we're having a huge effect on all ocean creatures. And all the time we find whales and dolphins beached with huge amounts of, you know, plastic in their guts because they mistake it for jellyfish or for, you know, living creatures, or they ingest it by accident when they're trying to feed on something
And not
else.
a little bit of plastic, but there was one whale you talked about, 88 pounds of plastic inside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this one researcher, you know, he does a lot of these kind of autopsies when there are these really unfortunate deaths of whales and dolphins, and he pulled out 88 pounds of plastic bags and ropes and just plastic junk, stuck inside this whale.
So how are we fixing problems? How are we fixing this
Yeah,
issue?
so, you know, we are really unique on this planet because we can be aware of the entire Earth system and how it all works, and we can think about, you know, the consequences of our choices and what to do about them. So, you know, we are in the process of trying to reform so much of the way we live, how we power our civilization, you know, trying to switch from fossil fuels to renewables, how we do agriculture, you know, trying to get away from these really corrosive forms of industrial agriculture to more regenerative types. With plastic pollution, you know, we really have to learn how to stop producing so much disposable plastic specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the cleanup efforts are amazing, but they're never going to turn off the tap, as scientists say. We have to, like, cut off the source of the plastic pollution, really.
Right. What gives you the biggest hope?
You know,
Or do you have hope?
I do, yeah. There's a lot of wonder and hope and joy suffused through this book because I'm constantly in awe of nature itself. You know, the amazing interconnectedness of living creatures and their environments, and the fact that, you know, Earth has been alive for more than 4 billion years despite repeated catastrophes through geologic time. So it is an astonishingly resilient living system, and that gives me a lot of hope and courage.
That's fantastic. You have a book event tonight at Powell's downtown at Powell's City of Books on 10th and West Burnside at 7 o'clock. We're going to put all the information on our website at KATU.com. Becoming Earth Again is the book. Thank you so much, Ferris. Great to meet you. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest.